My name is Hannah Snow, and my paper is titled Identity in Confinement, Literary Techniques in the Yellow Wallpaper. I chose to discuss how symbolism, imagery, and irony were used in the yellow wallpaper, and how these literary themes contribute to the theme that some of the ongoing issues of gender roles and mental health come from oppression and restrictive domestic roles inflicted on women in the 19th century. I chose this topic to learn more about the literary devices in the yellow wallpaper, to understand the short story's theme better, and to learn more about the context behind Gilman's story. A literary device used in the yellow wallpaper is symbolism, and examples of symbolism include the description of the yellow wallpaper, which represents the mental deterioration of the narrator. The pattern is described as torturing, which represents how the pattern of society in the past was torturing for women in confined domestic roles. And another example of symbolism is the woman in the wallpaper, which represents or symbolizes Gilman herself and her desire for freedom, as well as the narrator's desire for freedom. Another literary device used is imagery. An example of that is the pattern of the yellow wallpaper, which the wallpaper's changing design represents the women's struggle to know their place in the 19th century society. And another example of imagery is the imagery of the narrator crawling over her husband at the end of the story, which represents the narrator's victory and Gilman's personal victory in real life. And lastly, the imagery of the room the narrator is trapped in. The narrator's dislike of the room isn't heard by the husband, just like how women weren't heard in society but were instead silenced. And the last literary technique used is irony, and the examples of irony include the narrator's husband and the narrator's treatment, and both of these are supposed to help the narrator but are instead the problem, making it ironic. Women were oppressed and not allowed to think for themselves, and these two examples represent that. And the last example of irony is the climax of the story. In the end, where Gilman crawls over her husband, it's supposed to represent the triumph and the victory of the narrator, but it shows the breaking point of the narrator and her insanity. These are the sources that I used. I used 6 different sources, including Charlotte Perkins Gilman's article over why she wrote The Yellow Wallpaper. I would like everyone to remember that the yellow wallpaper questioned social standards in the 19th century. However, it is important to contemplate the meaning of oppression and find a relation to it in current society. I would also like my paper to encourage readers to advocate for gender equality in today's time.